Welcome to Fresh Tech Tips. I'm Derrell Norris, CEO of Fresh Tech Solutions. And as usual, I have my awesome business partners with me today.
I'm Nicholas Mbezua Daniel, founder of Easier Project Management.
And I'm Dr. Doug Franklin, co-founder and CEO of Deck Launch LLC. How you fellas doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Doc. Doing awesome sitting at Fresh Tech headquarters. With the Fresh Tech blue in the background. Nick, how you doing?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I see the blue. I'm doing great, man. It's a beautiful morning, another good week, and let's get it.
Doc, how you feeling over there, man?
All is well over here. Just loving the blue right now. Kind of this looks like it needs to be like a card or a commercial or a commercial background or something with Derrell. Some ambient jazz.
Not
the right with the suit. The hue.
Oh man.
All right, so today's Fresh Tech Tip topic is content. Nicholas, what do we mean by content? Give me one of those world famous definitions of yours.
Yeah, so content is the information and or experiences that are directed towards end users or an audience through mediums such as speech, writing, video, or any other of the various arts. Content is used as a business tool to engage customers and about a product or a brand, or if you're doing nonprofit, then it might be a cause. So that's what content is.
So today's episode, we're going to walk you through the importance of content. So we're going to start with that. Doc, what do you think about the importance of content as far as engagement is concerned?
Well, I mean, so when you're talking about engagement, there's a bunch of ways that you can connect with the people that you want to see your content. Because I mean, that's the important thing when we always talk about your market. We're talking about your target market. So different things do make people feel good depending on what's going on. So here's a couple of ways that that we see content being important. So you can establish trust with users. So like, if you're a company that talks about being in the social justice area, maybe you're showing that you're out in the public by engaging in soup kitchens. Maybe there are other events that you hold where you can actually take pictures where those things are safe. How about SEO? So quality content, it continues to get read. Users are going to be able to find you. And then this is also, of course, where you make the money, as we say here. This is where you make the money. And the thing that I really appreciate, because it eventually allows you to establish trust and make that conversion, is the nature of building authority as a leader or a subject matter expert in your area or for your business.
Yeah, that last one is pretty huge when people start contacting you, because once they think about whatever your field is, they think about you, and that's when you've really made an imprint on the marketplace.
Yeah, definitely, and content helps with that, along with doing excellent work. So you can't just have great content; you have to back it up.
Exactly, that comes first. We're saying this, assuming that you're doing that already. Please.
Well, I mean, aren't you? You're technically building content to build authority, so it all has to be good, right?
Yeah, definitely. So once we have this content, let's talk about. Well, Nick, I want to change directions real quick, if you don't mind. I want to talk about the types of content before we get into placement.
Everybody at this point is probably inundated with content. This in 2020, content is huge, especially during the pandemic. But I mean, let's just talk about some of the types of content, because people might confuse content with just social media posts, and content is more expansive than that. So some of the types of content that we can talk about are infographics, videos, of course, different types of videos, newsletters, which I mean are still famous now, but now they're in virtual form. But before the advent of social media and internet, you're actually getting probably printed newsletters, programming, TV shows, interviews. That used to be your main way to establish yourself as a subject matter expert, is to get like a huge interview, or like imagine like an interview in 60 Minutes if you were some kind of businessman. That kind of like gives you a huge leg up or on a radio station. Now podcasts, I just mentioned radio, so you kind of know what that's about. I mean, that's what we're doing here, using our platform to share ideas with people and letting them know, hey, this is what we do, and then allowing them to connect with us so that if they do need something that we can offer, they know to come to us and they already trust us, like we mentioned before. White papers and articles. White papers are usually a testimonial of some kind about an experience that somebody has had with your business. That you put it down. That's usually found on a website, or you might make a package and print and send it out to people. Articles are similar when you talk about something that's in your field that you know about, disseminating information, bringing awareness. So those are some of the types of content. I'm sure now these days you can probably expand that even more, but those are some of the major types of content we can talk about. And
it's funny, Nick, because we didn't even talk about not the main one, but I guess the obvious one. Pictures.
Right.
Photos.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, I'm talking about actual photos, and I'm also talking about, stock photos, paid stock photos, not Google Images. Stay off of Google Images, people.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll probably touch on more when we talk about how to create content, but definitely photos do, a picture says 1,000 words is still true. The you being in a photograph with somebody who is big in the business, or you being, a good photo might just make someone who's, especially talking about phones, someone who's scrolling stop and then look at, what is this? It might arouse this curiosity. So visual aids are always top notch. People are going to look at a picture before they read things most of the time. So yeah, definitely.
And speaking of scrolling down social media, let's go ahead and get into content placement. So now that you have this content, what do you do with it? Why is content needed? Why is it so important? Especially to people like me. It's very important to me because Fresh Tech Solutions is a mobile app development company, and we cannot make an app without content. I'll say that again. We cannot make an app without content. Or a website.
Can we do anything without content? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's just about what type of content it's going to be. We can't do anything without content. I can even say, even on a project phase, like you need content. Content is going to be different, right? But you need content for everything.
And Doc, speak on that as from a pitch deck perspective. What happens if somebody tries to get a pitch deck and they don't have content or have sucky content?
Well, outside of us like extending additional costs at an hourly rate, which could happen to you if you're really not hands-on in your business, but that happens anywhere. If you come in somewhere with the promise that you know your information about your business, then give these people working with your business a little bit of content. And then another pro tip for that is if you're concerned about what content they're going to use, make sure they have an NDA. Problem solved. It tells people a lot, but it tells people a lot about the business that you have. If you don't have any content by the numbers because you're a brand new business, either write down all of your ideas about where you think this business can go, or provide that audio content, because you can give that information to the people that work with you on your pitch deck, and it's hopefully us. And the reason why you need that stuff is because, one, we always talk about validation for pitch decks, validation, and that comes from the information that we have at the beginning and combining it with research. And then we've talked about authority, and you generally use your pitch deck to show that you are some authority in this business in a focused market, so that you can receive money or investments. Or new team members. And so if you don't have any content in your pitch deck, you might as well just make a poster with a nice little logo and keep on your way.
Yeah, and we mentioned pitch decks there, Derrell. You mentioned apps, some other places where you might place content, social media, of course. We mentioned website marketing campaigns, so billboards, print, any side of a bus, or all that stuff. and then, television, all those kind of mediums as well. And we mentioned radio. So, I mean, anywhere that you can get eyeballs, you can get engagement, that is a place where content can be placed. I just wanted to kind of mention that before we go on. And also, one second, Doug. Also, I mean, Doug was mentioning that sometimes you come in without content. We don't want to discourage people, because it is difficult. If you're not used to it, sometimes generating content is hard. It's hard to get around. So if you need somebody to help you fully with that, there's nothing wrong with that. But just understand that the quality of content is limited if you're not involved, because at the end of the day, the content is going to be around you and your business. So you have to prepare to engage at least a certain amount. And then if you want to hire somebody to create the rest of it, it's fine. Because if not, it's not going to be unique enough. So just be prepared for that. Sorry.
And if you were, I'm sorry, Doug, I gotta bounce off that because if you're trying to get a website done and you don't have anything, you have to expect that you'll be charged to get content created. A lot of people think that they're going to pay for the website and then that's it. We're going to do everything. No, you need to provide us that content unless you're paying for content. And content can get expensive, and like you said, Nick, it's way better to have the owner involved in that process, because you know your business better than we do.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And just because we have marketing and social media on here, it's very vital to actually all of this stuff, and we talk about it when we talk about the ways you can place content. We said it in some of our other shows, but always remember that these pieces of content interlock. So with regards to when we talked about apps, pitch decks, and websites, we say we do like big pictures, but you also have to have meaningful text. And so understanding how all of your content comes together is very valuable as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about content placement and different types of content. So now let's talk about creating effective content.
Yeah, the first thing that I like to talk about, we just kind of mentioned it a little bit, is just being authentic. And the only way to be authentic is to be you. So create your content around the things that the things that you're passionate about, the things in your business that are already happening all the time, because that's going to be the easiest way for you to create content. And also that's what people are going to want to see. So, if I'm a tech company, I'm not going to have too many posts about me, I don't know, making sausage. That's just way too far out there. There might be a unique intersection of those two things. I mean, and when you find opportunities like that, definitely share that. But that can be the bulk of your content. People want to see stuff around where you are, So if someone is seeing you for the first time, you want to make sure that they're seeing the right thing or something that it's integral to your business activity. If you're go ahead, bro. Give us an example.
I think we also got to talk about kind of how sometimes you have a startup, a restaurant or a business that wants to kind of exaggerate or embellish, and they go exactly to where Rel said, right to Google and go drop a couple pictures as if that's their product. And so I thought this is a really great example of authenticity. One of the clients we worked with about 1.5 years ago was in the restaurateur industry, and his steaks did not look like the Ruth Chris steaks we found on social media. And when we were showing his social media to potential customers, they pretty much were like, "These steaks look great, but I know they came off of
I've seen that before.
I saw it. I was at Outback.
I know those grill marks.
Right, it's a blooming onion right there. You can't hide that.
So let's get into some examples, Nick. Let's talk about restaurants as an example.
Yeah. So Doug was mentioning that. So for a restaurant, for a restaurant, you want to capture pictures and videos around you creating your meals. And some of the restaurants are big on recipes. That's their secret sauce. So there's some things that you're not going to be able to show. So I guess in case it's not obvious enough, you got to be appropriate with what content you're putting on there, not just because of being safe for work, but also there's some things that you may not want to show. You still have competitors looking at this. This is open to everybody, so be mindful about the things that you're putting out there. But I mean, if you have, go ahead, bro.
No, and there's some businesses where I highly recommend that you hire a professional photographer, and restaurants is one of those industries because when I go to a restaurant and I'm looking at the menu, it's a higher chance that I'm going to choose the item that's featured with the big picture and it's looking all great than something with just the words there. That's because of that quality content. You want to have that content that can sell your stuff, and don't shortchange yourself with this. Don't be cheap on this because y'all already know I don't like ugly things. so when if I see a meal that don't look amazing, if it don't look like that Big Mac on the McDonald's window that you'll never see in real life, I don't want it.
That's true. McDonald's is great at creating their content. The food is never good, but they definitely understand the content part. Yeah. And then one of the people in the city, and I'm like doing shout outs. Turkey Leg Hut. They do a good job around that as well because they've expanded. If you see them over the years, the content that they're putting on there, they've moved from just food to being part of the social construct, part of lifestyle. Taking pictures at a farm where they're, hey, look, this is where we're cultivating our products are fresh, things like that. You want to capture those things that are also around your business as well, not just the main thing, capture the main thing, but also capture all those things that are more unique about the way you do business or who your business is.
So that brings us to so that was like a regular business activity. Now let's talk about some external things. So for us, we do a lot of events. We used to do a lot of events, but
we're still doing it virtually. Virtually. We're being safe, guys.
But when you're out, when you're doing an event, if I have a speaking engagement, that is an excellent way to capture content. Whether if you have to get somebody to record your speech, or if you're just taking pictures with people, or whatever you do, there's always opportunity to capture content, especially at these events and networking events and speaking engagements, conferences. So when you're going to these things, be mindful and intentional about capturing content. That was one of the things that I failed at when I first started. I was getting a lot of speaking engagements, and now I will never even remember what I was talking about back then.
I got a question for you. So would you even advise, just capture the content, worry about what you're going to do with it later? To just get the content, get a bank of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's always,
because you never know when you're going to use it.
You never know when it's going to be. You never know when it's going to be a Fresh Tech Tips webinar that you're going to have to buy soon. And guess what? The content has been created for 46 weeks.
That's true, and it adds up quickly. If people are, and one of the things that made me want to talk about this subject is these days, if you're paying attention to, I'm always paying attention to stocks. If you see the amount of value that the marketplace has placed on content, for example, next year, for everybody who's doing streaming services now, next year, I think one of the most famous, I'm not going to call their name, one of the most famous movie makers has made all the movies that will come out in theater coming out on their platform. Why? Because they're trying to increase the price. So if they're willing to sacrifice, and these movies cost millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, they're willing to say, forget that, we want to have content on our platform. It just kind of shows you how important it is to have something that people can always come to, something that you own, that you can use for your purposes. So it's very vital, especially right now in 2020.
Yeah, well, and to bring it back to one of the things that we do best with content is the nature of apps and how important your phone is with regards to content. I think the numbers 2 years ago, Pew Research said that 50% of people pick up their phone before they wake up in the morning. For what kind of content? All kinds of things, whether it be the news, whether it be of their faith, whatever it is literally right there, including stores, business stores, other businesses that you invest in, gaming. You have all of this all the content is on the phone, and so it's still one of these things that even though we're not all out and about, you're probably on your phone more than ever. So it's never a bad time to get an app, particularly if you can boost your business.
Yeah. Another thing I want to touch on is capturing testimonials and reviews.
Yeah.
This is also another form of content. And we've told y'all before, don't be afraid to ask the customer for testimonials, video reviews, Google reviews, something we're still working on. So if you are listening to this and you are a Fresh Tech or Deck Lounge client, go ahead and write us a Google review. See, it wasn't that hard to ask. Just ask, people.
That's something that entrepreneurs struggle with, but especially as people in the African American communities, that's something that we don't really put a lot of stock in. And so you have like the best business in real life, and you go on the internet and they have one review and it's 1 star. Yeah, it's not reflective of who you are as a business, and it's something that if you put some effort into it can be managed. I know we have an episode before where we talked about this, but so please think about that very, very severely, because a lot of people that's part of your decision matrix. If you're going to choose a place to go, if I've never been there before, if you don't have any reviews or you have bad reviews, I'm probably going to go somewhere else. The competition is too heavy to drop the ball on reviews and testimonials.
And I can take that content, those testimonial and reviews, and add them to the website or app. See why I need these content?
And then another something along that line also, case studies. Doug, man, that's right up your alley.
Yeah, so one of the things that we also want to start doing are case studies, so case studies are pretty much like white papers. So like white papers might end up being white papers are meant to be informative like case studies, but white papers could also be strategic opinions. Case studies are based on your client or a situation your business is in. And so if you have a client and you want to do a case study with them, it's really cool because you could do like 30 to 45-minute interviews, ask a handful of very solid questions so that you understand their overall feeling. You take that information and you put it into like a 250 to 500 word section with your client's information and some cool stuff about their business. Now you have a case study, and now you've shown people that you not only have you're not only a subject matter expert, but you're great with your clients. And so those are the two things you get. Case studies are a testimonial pretty much on steroids because you're doing a little bit of additional research to validate that you helped your customer.
And I'll take those case studies and put them on the website.
So if you're following along, whatever you do, Derrell will take it and he will put it on the website or an app.
Content. Nick, let's talk about managing.
Managing content. So the biggest thing about that is a plan. Someone sent me a post about, and content goes way past social media, but Doug just mentioned the statistics about how people use their phone, and I'm not going to lie to you. Most of the time, people open their phone and go straight to social media. That's where they're going. So that's the reason why it's so important. So a lot of things are heavily skewed towards social media, but it's not the only place. So all this stuff always applies. But you got to have a plan because it can get out of hand. The amount of posts you have to make or how many case studies you have to do. This is a lot to worry about. So the best way to manage it is to make a plan to, hey, what is the minimum I can do to be effective? And then you can plan it out, like pre-scheduling posts for social media, for an instance, or the case study stuff. Okay, I need to interview that client. That's going to be a good client to interview for my case study. This are the steps that's going to go into. And then once you realize that, you have a plan, then you can figure, okay, what tools do I need to make this happen? Or, and then once I have that, what kind of schedule I like to deploy to maximize the awareness or get the most people looking at it. And then what is the purpose for content? Some things might just be for awareness, or some things are call to action. I want people to come and buy something, or I might be thanking another business or somebody interacted or highlighting a customer who did something well. So what is the purpose behind it? That's kind of some of the things that go into having a plan, because it's always better. There's too much, this content creation and usage is too, it's a big task. So if you don't plan it, it's going to take way more of your resources than it needs to.
And don't forget to evaluate it, and so so there's all kinds of types of content scoring or key performance indicators. Those are the two different terms used for kind of looking at your performance. So when you're looking at content, it could be clicks, engagements, conversions, leads. You could be evaluating it based on the customer acquisition or the CAC,
cost, yeah.
because of acquisition costs. So which we've talked about on another show. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can look at it, but you have to make sure that you do figure out those things, especially the customer acquisition costs, because you could find that some marketing is going to be way expensive for you per person than anything else.
Yeah, and even to simplify that even further, because we have people of different levels on here. It's what we're just saying is, if you make a post on social media and you have plenty of likes on one and don't have likes on the other, don't just be like, okay, I'll just try again. Just actually try to see what it is that you did right there. Listen to the comments that people are telling you, giving you about that. Actually, every time you make one, get that information and then add that towards making the next one, whatever it is. That's what we mean. So when you choose a KPI, which is a key performance indicator, you get to set that. If you want to use it as likes, or if you want the right people to engage with you. So if you want, if you're targeting a certain amount of businesses, or if you have a certain target market.
I want meetings booked, Nick. Meetings booked.
Exactly. Meetings booked. Whatever it is that's important to you, that's your key performance indicator. So try to drive everything that you do towards that.
Yeah, and lastly, the most important part of all of this, if you need help, hire Fresh Tech Exposed.
No,
Fresh Tech Exposed. Fresh Tech Exposed is our social media department, and Sydney Campbell is constantly creating wonderful content for our clients, and she's awesome at it, like really, really awesome. I'm excited about Fresh Tech's content for 2021 because we're changing the game. So I know we've been a little long today, but thank you all for joining Fresh Tech Tips. We know every second is valuable, and we appreciate you all for spending time with us. I hope we provided some value to you as well. We will see you all next Monday at 12 p.m. Follow the Fresh Tech Tips Facebook group, and remember, content is extremely important, so make sure you're being intentional about it. Thanks for joining Fresh Tech Tips. We'll see y'all next week.